Welcome back, everyone, to the Wedge 52 Gridiron Podcast. I'm your host, Wedge. Today's episode will be the Around the League Week 6 recap, as well as a few other things on the schedule for this episode, my recap and thoughts on every single matchup of Week 6. Then just quickly the top three leaders in the major stat categories. Then we move on to the HIM performance of the Week 6. And then to wrap it up, just quick thoughts, initial reaction and things to watch for the Week 7 matchups, just off the top of the head. And then moving into my Week 7 picks. Make sure you stay tuned for those. Last week my picks went 12-3. I'm currently 64-29 on the season. Before we jump in too much here, make sure you guys press that follow button right here on Spotify, as well as on Instagram. Share this podcast with your fellow NFL fans. Help me grow if you guys are enjoying what you hear. Thank you in advance for listening. And now let's jump in with last week's Thursday night football game against the Broncos and Chiefs. Chiefs won that one 19-8. Russell Wilson went 13 for 22, just 95 passing yards, 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. His main target was Courtland Sutton, who had four catches, for 46 yards and a touchdown. A very nice catch on the touchdown reception by Courtland Sutton. However, it was not enough to stop Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs team. Mahomes went 30 for 40, 306 yards, 1 touchdown and 1 interception, as well as 6 rushes for 31 yards on the ground. Running back Isaiah Pacheco, 16 carries for 62 yards and 6 catches for 36 yards on the night for him. And then Mahomes' favorite target, Travis Kelce, 9 catches for 124 yards in the Thursday night matchup against the Chiefs and Broncos, the Chiefs realistically should have beat the Broncos by much more than 11 points. So the Chiefs, they were somewhat struggling throughout the whole night. Regardless, they were able to get the win and move on to the next week. That's what matters. Going 1-0, getting to the next week, figuring out the problems, and doing it again. That's for all teams. Last week, the Ravens beat the Titans over there in London, 24-16. Ryan Tannehill went 8 for 16, 76 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception before leaving the game with an ankle injury early in the second half. Malik Willis came in, went 4 for 5, 74 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Derrick Henry, 12 carries for 97 yards and a touchdown. Most of those yards came off a big play that he broke. That was around 60-yarder there. Lamar went 21 for 30, 223 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, as well as 13 rushes for 62 yards. Mark Andrews, 4 for 69. Zay Flowers, 6 for 50 and his first career touchdown. And then that Ravens defense had 6 sacks and an interception. If you'd like to hear my full thoughts and recap, as well as my Ravens players of the game, please make sure you check out yesterday's episode where I go into full detail on the Baltimore Ravens matchup against the Tennessee Titans, as well as previewing the Ravens' next opponent, the Detroit Lions, who they are facing this Sunday in Baltimore. Moving on, the Commanders took down the Falcons 24-16. Desmond Ridder did struggle again, for another time this season. 28 for 47, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns, which is good, both of those, but he did have 3 interceptions. I want to say this might be his second game with 3 picks. If not, for sure, he has multiple with 2. He also had 2 carries for 18 yards. He's been finding his main receiver, Drake London, just like he did this previous Sunday. London had 9 catches for 125 yards. He's the leading receiver on that team by far. And then Kyle Pitts also got involved, again as well. 4 catches for 43 yards and a touchdown for Pitts. On the Commanders side, Sam Howell, 14 for 23, 151 yards only, but 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, very efficient with the ball, making smart decisions, smart throws. Curtis Samuel, Brian Robinson, and Gibson, all 3 had a touchdown each, one touchdown reception each from Mr. Sam Howell. The Commanders, are in third place in that division, with the Eagles and the Cowboys ahead of them. And the Giants, are looking quite lackluster. The 49ers and the Browns upset the undefeated 49ers 19-17. Brock Purdy had potentially his worst game of his career, and it still was not horrible. 12 for 27, 125 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Obviously not ideal from Purdy. It was definitely a bad game. But, a couple more of those throws potentially should have been picked off that the Cleveland's defenders couldn't haul in. But, for Brock Purdy to be having, his worst game, and it's still, not the worst game we've seen by a quarterback this season even. It's good for him, for his development. It's going to be interesting to see how he, responds to this adversity next week against the Minnesota Vikings, I believe they play. But Brock Purdy, everybody I think knows that he's not the next superstar talent-wise quarterback, but Brock Purdy is very efficient, makes the right decisions in a good quarterback system, which is, part of what has led to his success so far this season. So definitely expect Purdy to, turn things around. I would expect this to be kind of like the rock bottom in terms of Brock Purdy, as long as he's in that Kyle Shanahan system at least. Other words on the 49ers, wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, 4 catches for 76 yards. The 49ers were dealing with some injuries throughout that game. Deebo Samuel got hurt, did not return. Christian McCaffrey got hurt, returned, got hurt again, and did not return to that game. For the Browns, P.J. Walker got the start after Deshaun Watson was ruled out with a shoulder injury, same kind of thing that's been lingering now. He went 18 for 34, 192 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So not an ideal performance by him either. But that, Cleveland defense definitely helped them out, keep them in the game with the Brock Purdy interception, and really shut down that 49ers offense that has been scoring pretty well so far this season. Running backs for the Browns, Ford had 17 carries for 84 yards, and Kareem Hunt had 12 carries for 47 yards and a touchdown. And then Amari Cooper made a couple of fantastic catches, totaling 4 receptions for 108 yards on the day. Amongst both teams, there was 224 yards of flags of dirty laundry on the field. That is the most flag yardage in any game, any NFL game this season so far. 224, definitely not a game that either fan base would be proud of in terms of flags. It was not a lopsided affair. Both teams were getting heavily penalized by the referees. And then the Saints took on the Texans in Houston last week, where the Texans won that one 20-13. Derek Carr, 32 for 50, so 64% completion percentage, not bad. 353 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So mostly solid day for Derek Carr besides the interception. But it wasn't enough to get the job done as they struggled to get in the end zone. Alvin Kamara, 19 carries for 68 yards, as well as 7 catches for 36 yards. And then running back, wide receiver, Chris Olave kind of started to return to form that we've become more accustomed to, with 7 catches for 96 yards on the day. And then the Saints' other second year wide receiver, Raheed Shaheed, 2 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. Over there for the Texans, rookie quarterback C.J. Stroud, 13 for 27, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. His favorite target so far this season, I would say, Nico Collins, 4 catches for 80 yards, and tight end Dalton Schultz, 4 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown. The Miami Dolphins offense was, lights out yet again this week against the Carolina Panthers, where the Dolphins won 42-21. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that may be the same score that the Lions ran up on the Carolina Panthers the previous week before. But not a good sighting for the Carolina Panthers, as they now fall to 0-6 and are the only team currently without a win. Bryce Young went 23 for 38, 217 yards and a touchdown. Running back Chuba Hubbard, 19 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown. And wide receiver Adam Thielen, 11 catches for 115 yards and a touchdown. Adam Thielen is doing everything he can to help out Bryce Young and that very, very poor, struggling Carolina Panthers offense. Outside of Thielen, I think Thielen has 500 yards. I haven't looked at the stats. I wouldn't be surprised if there is not another Carolina Panther wide receiver or pass catcher with more than 200. On the other side, though, that Miami Dolphins offense has been clicking and firing on all cylinders for almost the entire year. They did struggle against the Buffalo Bills, but they did still put up 20 points in that game, which is not horrible. 20 points can keep you in a decent amount of ball games. But Tua Tagovailoa, 21 for 31, 262 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Running back Raheem Mostert, phenomenal day by him yet again. He's been very, very good this whole season. 17 carries, 115 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground, as well as 3 receptions for 17 yards and a touchdown receiving. So 3 touchdowns on the day, 130 yards for him. And then Tyreek Hill, who's on an absolutely crazy path so far, absolutely crazy pace. 6 receptions for 163 yards and a touchdown. He's currently, at just over 800 yards, and it's only been 6 weeks. You multiply that by, just about 3. That is close to 2,400 yards for Tyreek Hill. If he's able to continue this pace, we will see. It will be fun to watch. And then, his counterpart, Jalen Waddle, 7 catches for 51 yards and a touchdown last Sunday against those poor Carolina Panthers. Heading over to Raven division rival, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Seahawks 17-13. Geno Smith went 27 for 41, 323 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. So he struggled a bit. Kenneth Walker, 16 carries for 62 yards and a touchdown, as well as 3 catches for 27 yards. The Seahawks wide receiving trio, had a decent game. Lockett, 6 for 94, DK, 4 for 69, and JSN, 4 for 48. To me, the Seattle Seahawks wide receiving trio has been quite the disappointment so far this season. There's a lot of hype around their offense. Those big 3 wide receivers to go along with Kenneth Walker, who has been performing very well so far this season. But on the year, Lockett has 23 catches for 251 yards and 2 touchdowns. DK, 22 catches for 337 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, 16 catches for just 110 yards, no touchdowns. So combined, what are we looking at here? 5, 6, just over 700 yards and 4 touchdowns from their big 3 wide receivers. That Lockett and Metcalf were already proven, one of the better duos in the league. Then adding JSN, I know that my expectations for that wide receiving trio was definitely higher. I'm sure the Seattle Seahawks and Geno Smith had the same or similar thoughts. So we'll see if they turn it around, and we'll see if that Seahawks offense can potentially be more dangerous as the season develops here. Joe Burrow on the day, 24 for 35, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. His favorite wide receiver, Jamar Chase, had 6 catches for 80 yards. And then Tyler Boyd had a decent little game, 7 catches for 38 yards and 1 touchdown. Although the Bengals did win, they were 3 for 11 on third down. And that has been a major struggle for the Cincinnati Bengals so far this season on their offensive side, where they are only 33% on the season, which currently ranks them 29th in the NFL on third down success percentage. And that's one of the big reasons why Cincinnati Bengals have been struggling, are not performing up to their expectations. One of the main reasons is third down percentage, not converting, extending drives, as well as, Joe Burrow dealing with an injury and trying to play through that. But definitely something that could potentially come back and hurt the Bengals as this season develops if they are unable to convert on third downs. The Colts faced off against the Jaguars and lost that one 20-37. Gardner Minshew started in place of Anthony Richardson, who is dealing with that shoulder injury. The majority of reports at this moment are saying that Anthony Richardson will be having surgery on that AC joint and will be most likely done for the year. Unfortunate news for the Indianapolis Colts and Anthony Richardson as the number 4 overall pick from them in the draft back in April. Minshew, though, on the day, 33 for 55. 329 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Running back, Zach Moss, just 7 carries for 21 yards and a touchdown, as well as 6 receptions for 38 yards. Jonathan Taylor is back, second game or third game now that he's played. He had just 8 carries for 19 yards only, as well as he did contribute with 5 receptions for 46 yards. Wide receiver Michael Pittman, 9 catches for 109 yards. But the 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions by Minshew really cost them, vital turnovers. Jaguars were able to capitalize off of those at a good rate. Trevor Lawrence went 20 for 30, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a interception. Lawrence did, however, give a knee injury during that game, and he is considered day-to-day at the time of recording here. Travis Etienne had himself a nice day, 18 carries for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as 3 catches for 28 yards. Wide receiver Christian Kirk, 3 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. And then linebacker Foyesade Okun for the Jaguars had 15 tackles. So that man was everywhere. He is, towards the top of the league so far this season in tackles. And then, one thing that was very interesting, like I said, the 3 interceptions really cost the Colts. As the Jaguars were able to capitalize on that. The Colts outgained the Jaguars 354 yards to 233. So 120 yards more than the Jaguars, and the Colts lost by 17. That's what happens with the 3 interceptions. Vikings took down the Bears 19-13. Justin Fields went 6 for 10, 58 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception, as well as 8 carries for 46 yards before exiting with a dislocated thumb, I think it was. I know it was a thumb injury. I don't know if it was sprained or dislocated. He has already been ruled as doubtful for the Week 7 matchup against the Raiders. And then in his place, Tyson Bagent came in, who went 10 for 14, 83 yards, no touchdowns, interception as well, plus 2 carries for 4 yards and a touchdown. Running back Dante Foreman, 15 carries for 65 yards, and DJ Moore, 5 catches for 51 yards. The Minnesota Vikings offense did struggle without dominant wide receiver Justin Jefferson, who, as we all know, is one of the best in the league. But that did not stop them from winning. A little bit of help from a game-winning defensive play. But before we get to that, Kirk Cousins went 21 for 31, 181 yards, and a touchdown. Running back Alexander Madison, 18 carries for 44 yards. On the receiving side, TJ Hawkinson, 6 catches for 50 yards, and Jordan Addison, 3 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Jordan Addison, I would think is definitely leading the league in rookie touchdowns. Off the top of my head, I think Jordan Addison has 4 or 5. Puka, I think, has 2. Zay Flowers has 1. JSN, 0. So I think Jordan Addison for rookie receivers is leading the league in touchdowns. So definitely nice for him. That was a good pickup by the Minnesota Vikings to pair up with Justin Jefferson. But then on that defensive side, for the Vikings, Daniel Hunter, 7 tackles for 2 sacks. And then Jordan Hicks, 5 tackles, interception, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Patriots lost to the Raiders 17-21. Patriots, I believe, are 1-5. Definitely not something that we have seen before in the Belichick era. So that, as a Ravens fan, is kind of nice to see. I will not lie there. Mac Jones was able to finish this game out. Did not get benched for the 3rd week in a row. And he was considered to be on a short leash. But he played better than he has been playing. 24 for 33, 200 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. Running back Ramondre Stevenson, 10 for 46 and a touchdown. And then Ezekiel Elliott, 7 for 34 and a touchdown on the ground. Their leading receiver on the day was Kendrick Bourne with 10 catches for 89 yards. On the other side of the ball, Jimmy Garoppolo, 14 for 22, 162 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He did leave the game with a back injury. Lots of injuries this week, a couple to quarterbacks. He is considered day-to-day, or questionable, at the moment, and is getting more tests Monday and Tuesday. So his status will be interesting. With a back injury, and Garoppolo already needing the 2nd day of different testing. My prediction is Garoppolo will be out, which means it will be backup versus backup in that matchup, Week 7. But I'll talk about that in a couple minutes here. Brian Hoyer did fill in, went 6 for 10 with 102 yards. And running back Josh Jacobs, 25 carries for 77 yards and 2 catches for 16. Michael Mayer, rookie tight end for the Raiders, 5 catches for 75 yards. And then Jacoby Myers had 5 catches for 61 yards and a nice touchdown grab. The Raiders had 4 sacks on the day, one of which was a game-sealing safety by defensive end Max Crosby. That helped, Raiders go up by 4, as well as get the ball back with right around a minute left in that game there. And And then the Cardinals took on the Rams. The Rams won 26-9 in LA. Josh Dobbs, 21 for 41, 235 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception, as well as 7 carries for 47 yards. No other players really are, statistically noteworthy from that game. I think the top receiver had like 51 yards. Obviously, no touchdowns by them. Just the 3 field goals on the day. So, moving on to the Rams side of it, Matthew Stafford went 15 for 24. He had 226 passing yards and a touchdown. Running back Kyron Williams had another great day. He's been one of the better backs in the league this far, up to this point at least. With 20 carries for 158 yards and a touchdown in week 6. And then Cooper Kupp, second week back, I want to say, jumped right back in last week. I want to say he had 118 yards. This week, Cooper Kupp, 7 catches for 148 yards and a touchdown after missing a good portion of time. Definitely good to see Cooper Kupp playing like he was before he got hurt. And definitely a boost to that Rams offense. The Rams could be sneaky heading into the back half of the season here. With the Cooper Kupp coming back, Stafford looks better than he has since that Super Bowl run. Probably, he looked good in the Super Bowl run, but since then, he's probably playing his best football. And then now Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, late round draft pick. Rams could potentially be sneaky here as we move forward. The Lions took on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield went 19 for 37 with 206 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Wide receiver Chris Godwin had 6 for 77, and Mike Evans had 4 for 49. Linebacker Levante David, been in the league for a long time, has been a very good linebacker for a long time. Showed it once again. 12 tackles and a sack for that Buccaneers linebacker. And then Jared Goff, 30 for 44, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. A very good day for Jared Goff once again, putting up good yards and protecting the football like he has done very well this entire season. His favorite target, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 12 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown. And then Jameson Williams potentially starting to find his stride again. 2 catches for 53 yards and a touchdown on the day. The touchdown was like a 50-yarder. He made a good adjustment on the ball. For that, speaking of the Lions, make sure we check into yesterday's episode where I fully preview the Ravens versus Lions matchup. Moving on, the Eagles were upset by the Jets, 20-14. The Jets pulled it out with the help of Jalen Hurts. Hurts was 28 for 45, 280 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, as well as 8 carries for 47 yards and a touchdown. Running back DeAndre Swift, 10 carries for just 18 yards, but he was able to contribute a little bit more in the receiving game with 8 catches for 40 yards and a touchdown. He did, however, have a fumble, though, that the Jets did recover. A.J. Brown, 7 catches for 131 yards. Devontae Smith, 5 catches for 44 yards. Defensive end, Hassan Reddick, 5 tackles and 2.5 sacks. Was not enough in the loss to the Jets. Because of those 4 turnovers, the Jets were getting a lot of extra possessions. Zach Wilson, 19 for 33, 186 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. 4 rushes for 15 yards for Zach Wilson. Breece Hall on the ground, 12 carries for 39 yards and a touchdown. And then 5 for 54 yards receiving. Wide receiver Garrett Wilson, 8 catches for 90 yards. Not quite performing to what we saw Garrett Wilson pop out during his rookie campaign last year. But all things considering, Garrett Wilson is still playing a very good football as a second-year wide receiver here. On third down conversions, something interesting here. Eagles were 7 for 14, while the Jets were just 2 for 11. The Jets were still able to win that football game. This is the second game this week that we saw it. The turnovers definitely hurt the Philadelphia Eagles. So we saw with the Eagles and the Colts this week struggled badly with turnovers and led to them losing games that they should have. The Eagles should have won. The Colts, outgained the Jaguars, looked better for, a good portion of the game, but the turnovers bite you at the wrong time. The Giants lost to the Bills on Sunday Night Football, 14-9. Tyrod Taylor went 24 for 36, had 200 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 5 rushes for 24 yards. And then Saquon Barkley had 24 carries for 93 yards. That Giants offense, mainly Tyrod Taylor, at the end of the first half, they audibled. Tyrod checked to a run inside the 3 or 4 yard line with about 14 seconds left. They did not score on that one. They were out of timeouts and were unable to get another play off before halftime. So resulting in them losing points, whether in a touchdown, if they were to throw the ball, they could have had 2 or 3 tries with 14 seconds, or run the ball, get a spike in there and kick a field goal. Either way, critical missed opportunity for the New York Giants. Josh Allen on the other side went 19 for 30, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Running back James Cook had 14 carries for 71 yards, and Stephon Diggs had a clean stat line of 10 catches for 100 yards. The Buffalo Bills, a little bit of controversy at the end there from their Bills defense. Definitely, by my eyes, should have been a pass interference or holding call on Darren Waller for the Giants' last-second attempt. They did have a couple opportunities to score a touchdown as time was ticking out. They were unable to do so successfully, which makes that first half mishap loom even greater there for Tyrod Taylor and that New York Giants, who did have a good opportunity to steal one from the Bills. This is the second time now that we've seen the Bills struggle with a team that they should beat very well. With the Giants here, obviously they got the win here, but then losing to the Jets week 1 after the Aaron Rodgers injury even, and definitely something to note from those Buffalo Bills. And then the last game of the week, of week 6, Monday Night Football, the Cowboys took down the Chargers in LA 22-17. Justin Herbert went 22 for 37, had 227 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception, as well as 6 rushes for 20 yards. Austin Eckler did make his return after dealing with an ankle injury for the LA Chargers. He had 14 carries for 27 yards and 4 catches for 35 yards on Monday Night Football. Keenan Allen continued to perform, as he's been doing this whole season. 7 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown. Keenan Allen has been, one of those couple Mr. Consistents over the past, 5 to 10 seasons, right along there with Mike Evans. Both of those guys, not ever really considered top 5, maybe sometimes considered top 10, but, are kind of hidden, very consistent, good, solid wide receivers to have on their team. That Chargers defense had 5 sacks on the day, but it was not enough to take down the Cowboys. Dak Prescott was 21 for 30, 272 yards, and 1 touchdown and no interceptions, as well as 7 rushes for 40 yards and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb, best game of the season, I would say, potentially. 7 catches for 117 yards. I was trying to think of CeeDee Lamb's other games. I know he had a game with a score, I believe, so I'm not sure how many yards he had on that one. But Cowboys defense only had one sack, but it was a very timely sack by Micah Parsons on that last drive that the Chargers had an opportunity to attempt a tie or score in the fourth quarter there. So that is week 6. There's every matchup from this previous week here. A little bit of a rundown. Now just very quickly, the top threes for the major stat category leaders. Passing yards, Tua has 1,876. Kirk Cousins, 1,679. Matthew Stafford, 1,677. Passing touchdowns, Kirk Cousins and Tua Tagovailoa both have 14, with Josh Allen right behind them at 13. Rushing yards is led by Christian McCaffrey with 553. Zachary Moss follows with 466. And Devin Achane has 460. In terms of rushing touchdowns, Raheem Mostert leads the league with 9. Christian McCaffrey has 7. Running backs, David Montgomery, Kyron Williams, and Kenneth Walker all have 6. Receiving yards is led by none other than Tyreek Hill with 814. A.J. Brown follows with 672, and Stephon Diggs has 620. Receiving touchdowns, Tyreek Hill has 6, and then 2 former Maryland Terps. DJ Moore and Stephon Diggs both have 5. Defensive tackles, Zaire Franklin leads the league with 77. TJ Edwards has 68. And then Foyesade Olokun has 67. Interceptions, it's now currently in 8-way tie. 8 players have 3 interceptions. And then for sacks, Daniel Hunter and TJ Watt have 8, as well as Khalil Mack, Josh Allen, and Trey Hendrickson all have 7 apiece. Moving into the him performance of the week 6. This week there was not many strong candidates for him performances. Really just 2 candidates came out of this one. Those candidates are going to be Raheem Mostert and Travis Etienne. And this week's him performance of the week 6 is Raheem Mostert. Mostert had 17 carries for 115 yards and 2 touchdowns, as well as 3 catches for 17 yards and a touchdown. Fantastic day by Raheem Mostert. 3 touchdowns again. He's had 4 touchdowns already in a game this season. Now he's had 3 touchdowns in the game this season. Potentially his second time having 3 touchdowns. I don't remember. I do remember Raheem Mostert has been a him performance of the week candidate a couple times already this season. So congratulations, Raheem Mostert, on the him performance of the week 6 award. Moving into the week 7 matchups, just quickly, I'll give my thoughts, quick analysis, maybe 1 or 2 things to look for or that are noteworthy for each matchup. Off the top of my head, starting off with week 7's Thursday night football matchup, Jaguars at the New Orleans Saints. This one will be interesting to see if Trevor Lawrence plays. I would think he would. I'm not sure though. He could be out. We don't know. But he is day-to-day at the moment of recording. Going against a Saints team that has been struggling since Derek Carr got banged up a couple of weeks ago. They do have Alvin Kamara back. But it looks like he's starting to get back into his stride. So we'll see if that is enough to take down the Jaguars, or if Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and Travis Etienne, is too much to handle. Big time showdown across conferences. Lions at the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be a matchup between 2 very, very good teams. The Ravens are, statistically and eye test, probably top 3 defense, potentially 2, slim chance at number 1 ranked defense. And that Lions defense as well, a top 5 defense by statistical categories. It's going to be a good showdown. That Detroit Lions offense is also very good. One of the top 5 offenses in the league up to this point. Lions are a top 5 team. Ravens are probably just outside the top 5. Their offense has been struggling. If you want my full in-depth analysis of the Ravens and Lions matchup, please check out yesterday's episode at the Wedge 52 Gridiron Podcast. The Browns head to Indianapolis to face the Colts. I would think that Deshaun Watson will be out again. That's not confirmed yet. I'm sure he's listed as a limited participant in practice, will probably be questionable most of the week. But the Browns have been, upfront in stating that they're not looking to start Deshaun Watson until he has no pain in that throwing shoulder. Indianapolis Colts, like I mentioned before, it's looking like quarterback Anthony Richardson is going to be done for the season after having shoulder surgery. I would project he'll have that sometime this week if that is indeed what they decide to go through with, which means it is Gardner Minshew time, full-time in Indianapolis. Also, Zach Moss has been playing very well, although Jonathan Taylor, one of the better running backs in the league the past couple of years, is healthy now, but we have not seen him really do much. We'll see if that changes this week, see if the game plan changes at all, knowing that Gardner Minshew is now their starting quarterback, most likely for the rest of the season. Buffalo Bills head to New England to play the Patriots. It's going to be, probably a one-sided affair, but we are not for sure on that because it is a divisional game, and Bill Belichick has played the Buffalo Bills many, many, many times in his career. The Bills struggled against the New York Giants last week. We'll see if those continue. I do not project them to continue for that Buffalo Bills team, that Buffalo Bills offense. We could potentially see another big day from those Buffalo Bills stars. The Raiders take on the Bears in Chicago. It's looking like there's going to be backup versus backup. Aiden O'Connell versus Tyson Bagent. Garoppolo dealing with that back injury, like I said. And then Justin Fields, already listed as doubtful with that thumb injury. As last time the Raiders started, Aiden O'Connell, Khalil Mack had 6 sacks against them. So, we'll see how that game, turns out. Backup versus backup against two, bottom of the barrel teams in the league this year. The Commanders take on the New York Giants in New York. The Commanders have been playing solid. The New York Giants have not been playing solid. Daniel Jones, it's looking like, is going to be out again. Once again, not confirmed at the time of this recording. But last I checked, he is dealing with a neck injury. We already knew that. But last I checked, he is, it's not looking positive for Daniel Jones. He's still feeling some tension, and strain in that neck area. And that is definitely a injury and body part that is not, something that you want to mess around with, especially with the quarterback that you just paid last offseason. The Falcons head to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs. Ritter struggled last game. The Buccaneers only put up 6 points after being fairly solid so far this year. We'll see if both of those things change. A good game by Ritter and a good game by the Buccaneers offense could potentially lead to a game that's, will appear more fun to watch than if I were to just tell you it was Falcons versus Buccaneers. Cardinals take on another divisional opponent, this time the Seahawks in Seattle. Arizona Cardinals, once again, struggling, but keeping games close, performing better than you would think. They don't quite have all the wins to show for it, but the Arizona Cardinals have been playing above their very low expectations of mine heading into the season. Seattle Seahawks, like I mentioned, I would love to see the Seahawks wide receiving trio turn things up quite a bit. How about that man, Geno Smith? And, open things up more even for Kenneth Walker, who's been playing well this season. We'll see if that happens this week against the Arizona Cardinals defense. Steelers take on the Rams in LA. Steelers coming off the bye week after coming off a win against the Baltimore Ravens that they should have not won because of, the the Ravens' poor play. But that's a story for another day. Check out that episode if you're interested. But the LA Rams have been playing very solid this year. It's nice to see the addition of Cooper Kupp for the Los Angeles Rams, as that has certainly helped them, as he has hopped right back into that team and that offensive system with really little to no showings of, the injury. So good for Cooper Kupp, good for the Rams. The Packers take on the Denver Broncos in the Mile High City. The Packers, they are also coming off a bye. Once again, playing over my my preseason expectations for them. Not playing great, but playing much better than I would have given them credit for. The Denver Broncos, on the other hand, are playing very, very bad football. Sean Payton talked a lot of trash in the offseason and beginning of the season. I believe the Broncos are 1-5. Potentially they're 2-4. Not a good look for the Broncos. And that defense, really, defense is one of the worst in the league for the Denver Broncos. Their offense, Russell Wilson, has been playing solid, but when you get no help from the defense, there's only so much he and that offense can do. Chargers take on the Chiefs in Kansas City. Justin Herbert versus Patrick Mahomes should be a good matchup. We've seen them duel it out in the past couple of seasons since Herbert has entered the league. Should be a fun one to watch between two explosive quarterbacks, two top of the line quarterbacks. Obviously Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, definitely a top 10 quarterback as well. Should be a fun one to watch. Offensively, this may turn into what defense can kind of hold their ground the most in that matchup in Kansas City this upcoming Sunday. And then Sunday Night Football, a big game in terms of powerhouses, in terms of how playoff seeding, how playoff brackets could turn out, and potentially, I hope not as a Ravens fan, but a potential Super Bowl matchup that we could see. The Dolphins head to Philadelphia to play the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. A big-time game between two very good-looking football teams, top two offenses in the league in terms of both yards per game and rushing yards per game. It's going to be a good one. One thing to note, Dolphins cornerback Xavier Howard is listed as questionable right now. He's dealing with a groin injury that occurred in their last game here last weekend. And then the Eagles as well dealing with, an injury at a critical position. Offensive lineman Lane Johnson is dealing with a sprained ankle. Not sure on the severity. I know watching the game, he did not return against the New York Jets. We'll see if that, if he's able to go this week. Definitely be a huge help for those Eagles. We'll see. It could affect them. But it's going to be a good game. Definitely one that all NFL fans should be intrigued about this weekend. And then Monday Night Football, 49ers at the Vikings. We'll see if the 49ers and Brock Purdy can bounce back. We'll see, the health status of Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, those two are very big pieces of that 49ers success and 49ers offense. They are definitely hopeful for those two guys to play. So we'll see how that develops throughout the week. Then the Minnesota Vikings doing what they can this year. Definitely hasn't lived up to their expectations so far. Now they're on top of that. They are dealing with the injury to Justin Jefferson, who is now on his second week of IR out of his minimum 4 weeks. So with that just leaves me with my Week 7 picks, predictions. Last week, Week 6, I went 12-3 on the season, or 12-3 on the week. 2 of my losses were the undefeated teams getting upset. What are you going to do about it? On the season so far, I am 64-29. Here's my Week 7 picks. I got the Jaguars over the Saints. I have to believe in my Ravens over the Lions. Browns over the Colts. Bills over the Patriots. Raiders over the Bears. Commanders over the Giants. Bucks over the Falcons. Seahawks over the Cardinals. Rams over the Steelers. Packers over the Broncos. Chiefs over the Chargers. Eagles over the Dolphins. And 49ers over the Vikings. That's all I have for today's episode. If you guys made it this far, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you for listening to every single minute of football talk that I have for you in this episode. Please make sure you smash that follow button right here on Spotify, as well as rate the podcast, listen to some other episodes, and tell your friends as we try and grow the Wedge 52 Gridiron brand. Thank you all for listening, and go Ravens.